Hey everyone, happy Sunday. So I hope that everyone has enjoyed their Sunday. I hope everyone has enjoyed their weekend. I hope if you did attend church, whether you attended church from your couch or whether you were in the actual sanctuary, I hope you enjoyed the services or whether you just made it a Sunday fun day. I hope that you all have enjoyed your Sunday. So, anyways, I'm just gonna go ahead and let's just hop right into it. You can see the subject of my live video, and it says, "Have Bishop T.D. Jakes in agreement with Kevin Samuels?" And then it has a question mark. So let's just dive right into it. Last week, the internet was in an uproar over a now viral video of Bishop T.D. Jakes calling women masculine. Everyone that I seen post the video made the claim that Bishop T.D. Jakes is in alignment with Kevin Samuels. Now, when I initially watched the video, I thought to myself, oh Lord, not Dr. Women Thou Art Loose, not Bishop T.D. Jakes, the creator of Women Thou Art Loose conferences. Um, as some of you may know, Bishop T.D. Jakes will be having the last Women Thou Art Loose conference in Atlanta this year. And I thought to myself, this just can't be how he's going to send us off, with the last conference. He's just going to dump us on the let's put black women in their places choo-choo train. This can't be reality. This just can't be how he's going to do, just in last conference for the Women Thou Art Loose. So, anyways, I started to send the video to my sisters and to my friends, of course, to discuss it. But right after I hit the send button, I said, you know what? Let me go and find the entire video and watch it because I really wanted to get an understanding of what he said and not just this little snippet of a video that's been circulating the internet. So I found the original video on his page. And it was actually posted on June 19th, but it was actually recorded on Sunday, June 18th, because it was a Father's Day sermon. Okay. The duration of the video was actually 57 minutes long. And the title of the sermon is Real Men Pour In. And throughout the sermon, he kept enforcing this message: real men pour in. Okay. So, what I found is that many social media bloggers and influencers decided to post this little, I don't even know if it was a minute long, maybe 1 to 2 minutes long, if that snippet of this 57-minute sermon of Bishop T.D. Jakes saying that today's women, have been raised to be men. And they posted it and they captioned these videos saying, Bishop T.D. Jake agrees with Kevin Samuels. So I want to share some of my talking points because what I did is I listened to the sermon in its entirety, and I want to share some of my talking points, some of the talking points that led up to the little snippet that's been circulating the internet. So he starts the sermon off with the subject, the title of the sermon, "Real Men Pour In." Okay, and he goes, "Real men are an asset, and they are not a deficit." Or as a lot of people like to call them, I think the type of men that he's talking about, simps. So he says, real men are an asset and they are not a deficit. But men cannot give what has not been poured into them. And so I took that as him talking about absentee fathers. And as I go on and read through my talking points, you'll understand why I took that, or hopefully you'll understand why I took that as him referring to absentee fathers. So again, he says, real men pour in, but men cannot give what has not been poured into them. And in my notes, I put hence absentee fathers. But he goes on to state that many times in marriages, men have the discipline component and women have the nourishers. So we tend to nourish. We have that nourishment component. But he goes on to say men just can't turn the kids over to mother because a lot of women are gifted nourishers. So men just tend to turn the children over to mothers. You know, they set the rules and they discipline, and then everything else, they turn it over to mothers. He says there have to be a balance. He said oftentimes women nourish things that they later in life regret. So that's why there has to be two, and there has to be, again, balance. Okay. So he goes on to say that men men have to be released to play his role. A man has to be released to play his role, and woman has to be released to play her role. And together they bring balance in the home. Okay. So he says men have rules, women nourish. Okay. But then he said, and single mothers have to do both. Now, in this sermon, he also talks a lot about love. Okay. So he says men and women are required to love one another as God loves us. If God is patient with us, then we should reflect that patience in those we love. Again, love them as God has loved us. And so in that sermon, during that time when he talked about loving one another as God has loved us, he asked three questions. He said, is our love a reflection of God's love, or a reflection of selfishness, frustration, desires, and attitudes? Can our loved ones see Jesus' love in the way we love? Why is our love so conditional? Those were the three questions he asked when he talked about love. And then he goes on to reinforce the commandment about love. This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. And so he says that when people love the wrong way, they make the excuse and they say, well, I'm just misunderstood. And he said, well, that's not true. He said, you're just mean or hateful. He said, because love is never misunderstood. Now, those were his words. He also goes on to say the epitome of love is sacrifice. And again, then he reinforces the message, real men pour in. And again, he's going to reiterate this message throughout his sermon. So again, the epitome of love is sacrifice. Real men pour in. It's not about taking. He said, love pours, lust takes. He goes on to tell us that a lot of people you think love you really just lust you. Because again, love pours, lust takes. Then he goes on to talk about, he goes on to say that there are women in the room that cannot deal with their husbands because they didn't have fathers. Hence, again, I'm correlating that to absentee fathers. And he also goes on to say that there are men in the room who cannot father their children correctly because they did not have fathers. Again, absentee fathers. But he goes on to say that everything begins with fatherhood. Even the Bible begins with fatherhood. And he goes on to tell us, he says, if Adam had not allowed Eve to pour into him, sin would have never come into the world. He said, sin came into the world because Adam broke the divine order. Men were not designed to receive from women. He said, and then so he used the example. He says, a man's self-esteem is compromised when he has to ask his wife for lunch money. Again, men were designed to pour in. And so he's not saying that men has to be rich or he has to be famous, but men must be the ones to pour out, not receive. He said Adam allowed the curse to come because he stopped pouring. Now, he also cautioned women to be careful about pouring too much into men. He said because men are designed to pour into women. And he said women are designed to take what men pour into them. He said we are designed to take it, to increase it, and make it better. He said we must increase it, appreciate it, and multiply it. Now, this is the segue into the little snippet that has been circulating the internet. That piece right there, when he says that men are designed to pour in and women are designed to increase what men pour into us, to appreciate it and to multiply it. Because he goes on to say that this breaks all sociological order of the culture that we are living in now, because we are raising up women to be men. And women are not applauded for our femininity. We are applauded in the contemporary society by how tough we are, how rough, mean, nasty, aggressive, hateful, and possessive we are. Women are climbing the corporate ladder, but we are losing our families. So I'm going to go ahead and stop right there, and I'm going to play the snippet of this little snippet, but I'm going to play a 60-second version of it versus just the little 30-second or what have you. I know I said earlier 1 to 2 minutes. I'm going to play the 60-second version snippet that I snipped of it and let you hear what he's a little bit more of what he said, because he did not just stop at we are raising our women to be men and they're climbing the corporate ladder and we are losing our families. He didn't stop there. So let me go ahead and just play what exactly he said. Just give me 1 minute. So here's the clip that I want to hear.
Because we're raising up women to be men. And you are not applauded for your femininity. You are applauded in the contemporary society by how tough, rough, nasty, mean, aggressive, hateful, possessive you are, and you're climbing the corporate ladder, but we are losing our families. I know you can buy your own car. I know you can buy your own house. But until you create a need that I can pour into, I have no place in your life. So stop coming home bragging to me about how much you don't need me and wonder why I shy away. Oh, y'all ain't gonna talk back to me this morning. Because we're raising up.
Okay. So that was just a little snip, 60-minute version of what he actually said, or a little bit more of what he said, and then I'll go ahead. I want to go back to my notes because I want to finish, share my talking points, but I have more snippets also that I will share with you. So he did say stop coming home to me bragging to me about what you can buy, and because I know this. He's saying that women have become as such that men can't pour into us. But anyhow, we'll move on away from that, and I'll finish going through my notes, and then I want to play some more snippets of what he said. Again, he says, I know you can buy your own car. I know you can buy your own house. But until women create a need that men can pour into, they have no place in a man's life. So he tells women to stop bragging to men about how much we don't need them and then wonder why they shy away. You all heard that in the snippet that I played. But here's also what he said. He says the conversation has become less proof to the men how disposable they are, or how dispensable they have become. But then he goes on to say that those talking points are born out of pain. And I'm going to go ahead and let you hear what he says about that. So let me pull that up just 1 minute.
Conversation has become, let's prove to the men how dispensable they are. And it is born out of pain because we hurt you and betrayed you. and lied to you and cheated to you, and you became like you became out of pain. But watch what is born out of pain.
Okay. So you all heard that. He says that a lot, the conversation has changed because men have hurt women. These talking points are born out of pain. That definitely is not the talking points of Kevin Samuels. So let's move on. In essence saying that women have become masculine because out of pain, out of hurt. Um, and then again, as you heard, he causes us to watch what is born out of pain. That is born out of pain is the way to deal with disorder. I hope I quoted that right. But he goes on to say that women should insist for better out of men rather than replacing them. Okay. Then he says, let's go from scripture to anatomy. So he said, naturally, men pour in. He keeps reinforcing that message. Men pour in. He says the life begins when men pour in. Men were designed to pour in. Women were designed to preserve what is poured in. He also goes on to say, as it is in the physical, so it is in the spiritual. Men are designed to pour in. So then he goes on and he told a story about his wife. He and his wife were out of the country, and she received a phone call that her brother was ill because he was very ill. And he said that she was upset. He said she was not acting out of character or anything, but she was upset. And so he said he went into the room and he began to pray for his wife and her brother. Again, he said she wasn't acting out of character or anything. He said, but he knows how to read his wife. Again, he started to pray for his wife and his brother. And then he said, because men pour in. He said, men are not indifferent. They are not tone deaf or emotionally detached. And he said, in that moment, he understood as a man and as the priest of his home, his ability to be the priest of his house and be worried about what she's worried about and care about what she cares about is what helps him to be a man that pours in. And he goes on to say that pouring in is not just about money. So he also goes on to say, if you don't know how to read the signals of the person you're married to, you can't stay with them. He said, the Bible says, dwell with woman according to knowledge. The better you understand her, the better chances you have of being able to be with her. So that's just, some little notes that I took from the sermon. Again, I did listen to the whole 57 minutes of it, and I encourage you to do the same. So my main takeaways from the sermon, it's what he was saying is that men today have nothing to pour into women because nothing has been poured into them. Sometimes as an absentee fathers, at least that was my takeaway. Some of it. But one thing that stood out to me, though, is when he talked about women being raised to be men, he said, because women are applauded for how tough, how rough, how nasty, aggressive, hateful, possessive they are. And I just don't necessarily agree that being mean, nasty, aggressive, hateful, and possessive are masculine traits. I believe you can have the most feminine woman be nasty, mean, hateful, possessive. To me, that's the character flaw. And I think when you make it a masculine trait, it's almost kind of given, excusing men to act a certain way. So I just don't necessarily agree with that. Those are masculine traits. Now, I do believe that women are being raised to be hardcore. And I say that only because most of the words that he used to describe a woman as being raised to be a man, I just don't necessarily believe that they align just solely with being masculine. But women are definitely applauded for being hardcore in today's society. And so ultimately, his message was that we are losing as a society because both vessels are empty. Real men pour out, um, and we are to love one another as Christ has loved us. So the message was not a nod to Kevin Sam to the it was not a nod to the late Kevin Samuels. And again, I encourage you to go listen to the message in its entirety for yourselves because it's a wonderful Father's Day message. So I'd love to hear what you all think about this video that's been circulating this subject. I'd love for you to leave your thoughts in the comments below. And please also subscribe to my channel, um, like and share my videos. And I can't wait to hear from you down below in the comments. I hope you all have a wonderful, productive week. And until next time, remember, I am my sister's mirror. Good night.